Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bacon, I make plans for 7:45, and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Good morning or good evening, all you wonderful people. Well said, Steve. Absolutely. That's exactly how I feel when I see all these names show up. Barry, Tricia, Mike, Sarah's in the house. Corey, how you doing all the way out on the West Coast? Mike Gilchrist is with us. David Craig, how you doing, my friend? Lloyd Barnucz with us. Donnie, how are you, sir? Good to see you, my friend. And hopefully I haven't missed anybody. James Shenry's in the house. Tony Sizanowski is with us as well. Alicia, how you doing? Thanks for joining us, guys. We're going to get right to it, but I do have a couple of announcements that I need to make. Jim obviously is going to be with us, and hopefully he's going to reflect on what 37 loyal, outstanding years looks like as he entered into yet another year with Shimano, and his contract got extended. I'm so glad to hear that, and as I said, great representative of our industry and, of course, Shimano. But we're going to get him to maybe reflect on what 37 years is like and some of the changes he's seen over the years, because that's a long time. That is a long, long time. But congrats right off the bat to Jim on this accomplishment. It's not often you see that kind of loyalty in the industry. So it speaks to both Shimano and, of course, our good buddy Jim. Lawrence is in the house, and Lawrence has some outstanding information. I don't want to say it's over the top, but it is definitely a step in the right direction when it comes to the coal situation that's going on out in Alberta. He's going to discuss that and give us an update, as well as when it comes to global warming, how our East Coast fishery is faring, and some of the changes we're seeing. I do believe that he was talking to someone, I want to say from Dartmouth University or some research station. I know I'm getting it wrong, but he's going to fill us in and tell us, why we've got great white sharks showing up, off the coast of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick and all these other places when we haven't really seen them in great numbers before. He's going to give us all that information and a lot more. And on his Feel the Bite segment, he's going to talk about the new rules when it comes to carp fishing and the fact that you're going to be able to use multiple rods. And I know a lot of carp anglers are really excited to hear that. So looking forward to that. And also our good buddy Jason Barnucz is stopping by. He's going to talk about a multitude of things, but one of which we are going to be doing this Thursday, as it has been sort of short notice. I know it sort of caught us all off guard, but if you haven't heard, the Spring Fishing and Boat Show is going to have a virtual show this year, and we are going to try and have the pre-party before the big party. And we're going to be sitting around with Jim, Jay, Lawrence, and our good buddy Moose to discuss some of the things that you can look forward to. I do know that it starts on Thursday. Not sure of the time that we're going to be doing our show, but we're going to certainly talk about some of the guest speakers that will be appearing and doing presentations. So stay tuned to that. I want to say a sadder note, because it's painful to know that a young toddler is going through this, but and I know Terry Snyder would not want me talking about this, so I'm not going to go into great detail, but I do invite you to go over. This is about his granddaughter Haley, and Erica Snyder made a post, and I believe the draw is February 17th, so we don't have a lot of time to help out, but they're selling tickets, and the idea is the purchase price for these tickets are going to go towards this much needed transportation that they're going to have to take and undertake to get Haley the treatment that she needs. She was diagnosed with an ultra-rare genetic disorder called ZARD. Now, to you, me, and everyone else, we probably don't know what that is. It's not good. Now, she got treatment, but the problem was she needed to go to additional therapy after that. So, all the therapy that goes into, the operation, and of course, I can't think of the word, but basically you have this operation and then there's therapy that follows after it, and it helps with the healing. It helps with the muscle development, all this stuff. And of course, COVID hit. So she wasn't able to attend. So the operation has happened, and there have been some complications that have arose because she hasn't been able to get this follow-up treatment. Hence the reason they have to do all this transportation, and there's going to be costs associated with that. So the CFN community, and as I said, Terry, I know the kind of lad you are, dude, but this is how our community works. And whether you like it or not, we're going to help out, and we're going to help in a large way. So if you go to Erica Snyder's site, and I know Steve Shaw just put up the link. So there's the link. You can go there. There is a person, let me get to the bottom, that you can contact if you want more information. It's an absolutely great cause. In fact, I've got the banner up here. Let me just bring up the banner so you guys have an idea of what it is that you're looking for. So that's what it looks like there. Let me take the comment out of the way so you can see. So one ticket is $5 donation, 3 for $10. And you can contact Julie Duchesne at the bottom there. Let me take this out of the way so you can see this. And there's the number down there. So Julie, you contact Julie, and hopefully she'll do a better job of explaining exactly what this is. But basically, this is our CFN community finding yet another initiative to get behind. And when I say get behind, here is what I have proposed. And I know a lot of you were looking. Walter's doing some fantastic stuff for us, and he came up with something that he just presented to me, and our good buddy Moose Bertu managed to get it printed. So starting tonight, and I will get in touch with Julie myself. Hopefully I can cross-reference with Terry so we can get an idea of everyone who has donated. Anyone that makes a $10 donation, $10, and it allows you 3 tickets to a prize. And with Valentine's Day coming up, this is really geared towards you ladies. So men, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This is your time to shine. With every $10 donation, and you get 3 tickets, somehow, some way, we are going to get a CFN Proud Angler sticker to you. Not sure exactly how we're going to do that, but we will hopefully get your addresses. We'll find out who paid, who didn't. And as I said, we will pass that on. So for every $10 donation, I will do a better job of finding out where we could send all this money and get this done. But we will be sending you a CFN Proud Angler sticker. And as I said, this is just an easy way for us to help out a fellow brother, our legacy member, Terry, and of course, his granddaughter, Haley, who is in desperate need of this therapy. So we wish the family luck on that. I hope I haven't missed any questions. Yeah, beautiful girl. Absolutely, Bill. What's up? Mike Brazo's in the house. Curtis is in the house. As I said, there's the link if you want it again. Again, I may have butchered the explanation on this. It sort of got passed on to me very quickly. I didn't really see it in the regular time feed, or the news feed. So I apologize. But as I said, I desperately wanted to get this to you, to the masses, so that we can help out the Snyder family in a big way with a small donation, really small donation. Yvonne Brown wanted me to remind all you ladies, so all you men, just close your ears like so. Tomorrow, they are hosting with OWA a presentation, a Zoom presentation with our good buddy Will Wegman. He's going to be discussing trout and whitefish. And if you ladies want to know a little bit more about how to target those fish, what to use, some of the tips, tricks, and techniques that Will recommend. And as I say, Will is a very knowledgeable individual when it comes to those 2 species because of his time spent on Lake Simcoe. So I invite you to tune into that. However, you do have to sign up. So Steve Shaw hopefully will be leaving a link. You can go to Ontario Women Anglers. You can even contact Yvonne yourself if you want to join, but obviously they have to join you to the Zoom presentation. So make sure you got your name on the list because, as I said, will not hold anything back when it comes to some of the tips and tricks when it comes to targeting those fish. Also, the CFN photo contest, monthly photo contest. Congratulations to, I can't think of your name offhand, but our January winner has been posted as our profile pic to our CFN page. So if you want to go over right now or after this broadcast and have a look at who won for January, they are there. I just can't think of the name. And I'm sure someone is going to think of it before I do. But we will be relaunching it for the month of February, I believe, next Monday. We have our monthly legacy member meeting this weekend. They don't know about it yet, but I'm sort of telling them. But we have our monthly meeting, and it'll be this weekend. So we're going to be discussing it and many other things. One of which, of course, is our brand new revamped CFN jersey. It's in the process of having the mock-ups made. And I also want to keep you guys or introduce you guys to something that is going to be coming, and it'll be a CFN signature series. We're going to be working with Rise Apparel on something that's really cool and unique and has been gone from the industry for a while, but and with a CFN splash, we're going to be bringing it back. So stay tuned to that as well. Our BC Fishing Network podcast, they had on Mike Mitchell from, he's the host, as you know, of BC Outdoors Sport Fishing TV. Did a fantastic job. The boys grilled him with a whole bunch of questions, and there was a few cool stories. But again, that's on Wednesday, 10:30 Eastern time. I invite you to listen in if you're up that late, or maybe tune in the next day. They're doing some wonderful things with that podcast. And when it comes to the promotion of BC angling, both our provincial page and our good buddy David Craig and the BC Fishing Network podcast hitting it out of the park as I would have expected them to. I would expect nothing else. But outside of that, I think I am all done. Oh, now, I don't know. I haven't seen her name, but Adele, guess what came? So Adele has been waiting for about a month for this to come. And she kept asking me, and I felt bad for her because it hadn't shown up yet. But she asked me to do this live, to open it up, because I have no idea what this is. So as you can see, Adele, I hope I'm not cutting in anything I'm not supposed to. But I also found out why it didn't show up. It was, you had put down as a postal code L8W. It was supposed to be L6W. No worries, Adele. At the end of the day, it got here. But she wanted me to film it when I saw it. Well, what better than to do it here live? So again, Adele, thanks so much. And she's got some exciting news coming up when it comes to her initiatives. Exciting plans. Wow. So here we go. This might be an announcement. Merry Christmas, Scotty. Wow. I tell you, even though it is late, it's the thought that counts, Adele. Here's a special gift for you in appreciation for all your support and friendship. Tight lines, exciting plans to be realized in 2021 that I will want you to be a part of. Surprises, accessible angling, MS Warrior, and CFN Proud, of which all of it I wear proudly. So I'm looking forward to what the big announcements are, as well as what this is. Well, the cool thing is it is my size. It is my size. And this may look like it. Yes, it is. I believe this is a Fish Whipped apparel. Oh, baby. Wow. Yes. Yes, sir. That's all I could say. Yeah, baby. I will wear this proudly. Oh, that's fantastic. Accessible angling. Adele, God bless you. I will wear it proudly, as I always do with everything that you do. But yeah, that is really, really sweet. Well, Adele, you've outdone yourself. And there's nothing I love wearing than a walleye, my beloved fish, as everyone well knows. We have our guests coming up. Let me get to our commercial, and I'll tell you, nothing gets me wanting to fish than this one right here. Big Jim in the house.
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka indeed, dude. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing great because the gym's going to be open by the end of the week.
Well, there you go. Speaking of Jim, let's talk about the congratulations that are in order. 37 years with Shimano.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I talked about it here last week that it sort of got away from me. I got really busy. I can't figure out. It's really weird. I thought not having the shows, because there'd been a few things that would have been at for like almost a week already. I thought I was going to be sitting around here wondering what to do. And I think I've been busier than if I would have been at the shows.
Well, I was going to say the amount of time that you've been doing of late, the number of jigs that I see.
I got Thursday now, Friday, Saturday with the spring fishing and boat show, the virtual show that they're doing. I'm going to do one. We're going to do an ice fishing one, I think, with Will, and I'm not sure, but they haven't got it quite settled out yet. And then on Saturday afternoon, I'm going to have Jeremy Smith from Linder's Angling Edge. He's usually at the spring fishing and boat show with Jimmy Linder, and great young kid. I heard his voice today. I wasn't looking at the phone when it rang, and I just clicked the button and I said hello, and he goes, "Big Jim, Jeremy," and I just lit up. He just has that effect on people. I remember when he was starting with the Lindners, he was a young kid, and I told my wife, I said, there was someday that kid is going to be one of the major players in the in-fishermen. She says, really? They've had a lot, and it hasn't worked out. I said, he's the one, and here he is, like a decade later. He's in there nice and firm. But anyway, we're going to talk about pike fishing. They wanted us to talk about walleyes, and and then Andy said, I don't have anybody talking about pike. Can you guys talk about pike? And I said, yeah, sure. It's no problem. I mean, I'm no stellar pike fisherman, but I can certainly get it done if I have to. And I know what to do and where to go. And it's something that really, really, I spend a lot of time on those type of lakes that have lake trout and pike in them. There's a period early in the year after the season opens, it's in June in most places. And they come out of the back base from spawning. And I'm talking about big pike. I'm not talking about 3 or 4 or 5 pounders. I'm talking about big ones. And they come out and they stack up, not on the weed line, but they stack up on the rock points on either side of the bays. And I mean, they stack up. It's like a prediction that always comes true. It just has to be the right point in the season. And, it could be like, who knows? Next year it might be early. Next year it could be late. You never know. But things like that we're going to share. We got an hour and 90 minutes there. We'll take some questions too. So that's going to be a great time. And then we're going to be doing something before it on
Thursday.
On Thursday evening. Yep. And we've got that. And then, Saturday or Friday and Saturday, we've got Andy's show. So it's going to be a busy week again. I got to be out of here at about 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. I got to go pick some stuff up, drop some stuff off, get an oil change while I'm in Ottawa.
Well, I've got your first question, and this is actually a really good one from our buddy Bill Mafteruck. Is there one special memory that stands out above all others in the 37 years with Shimano?
Oh, geez.
Boy, Bill, you stumped him.
No, I didn't stump him. So wait till I meet him. Wait till I see him. It's gonna be working good soon. I got a buddy of mine. Every day he sends me like yoga memes. Hope you're having a good time in the dining room this morning, and everything else. So it'll be fun. Like if I told him when we get back to the gym, I said I'm going to stick you on the end of a bar and lift you for something to do. And he said, no, it would tilt then. I said, good. I'll shish kebab you. I'll put the bar through you and lift it.
Nice.
I was driving him nuts. If I had to pick an evening, one thing would be an evening. When I was really sick with the cancer and things were really tough, they did a couple of fundraisers for me that raised a ridiculous amount of money. Like it was one of those things. It was probably the first time ever in my life that I realized how many people cared about me. I knew everybody liked me. Everybody wanted to be around Big Jim, whatever. It was just one of those things. I'm always in a good mood, and it's like that. But when they raise, when they do 2 fundraisers for you and they raise like $120,000, that's like a serious amount of money. It's a serious amount of money. And when the big one that they did at the Sportsman Show in Ottawa, when I saw guys like, Mercer was the MC, and he was absolutely offside hilarious. And at this one, I was a little more coherent. At the first one, they had me all dummied up on drugs, all chemoed up. I was lost. I didn't even know where the hell I was. And I basically sat in the chair all night. A couple of times I went to sleep. But it was what it was, I mean, it was like 8 o'clock at night. I was absolutely exhausted from being up all day. But those evenings, the things that were said, the genuineness to have people go up on a stage, make a little, talk about you, about what they had, experienced with you, and come down and put their arms around you and hug you. Man, oh man, right? I got tears in my eyes right now. Just, it's just such a cool thing. And that really all stemmed out of the Shimano family. It's really, really cool. It's it's just an amazing thing. And that's what it's like when it's like a family. It's a whole different thing when you've been there for a long time. And I've basically been with Shimano right from the beginning in Canada. Just after the beginning when Tom Brooks started, and it was I got involved, and then they said to me, hey, you catch a lot of fish. And I said, well, yeah, sometimes. And he says, you should fish tournaments. And I said, well, I don't know about that. These guys that fish in tournaments. And the first year I fished, I won the Canadian Championship. So people sort of got to know you quick. I didn't realize that I knew how to catch fish as good as I did. I had no concept. I had no concept. And That's it was awesome. To go different. Yeah. And it was to go different places and do it. Yeah. It's one thing to sit on your own lake and get to know it. You can have some success, but locals hardly ever win tournaments. Like big money tournaments.
Well, you've been to more than I would, so you would know.
Yeah, it just is something that just really doesn't happen because they're stuck in their ways, and you bring a guy in that's never fished the lake before, and he's got no preconceived notions. He's not going back to that same old spot. The I always talk about, let's go to that same spot. Yeah. Didn't catch anything last week. Tournament coming up. Well, we'll go sit there both days. They might bite, I still see it to this day. So, but no, that's, it's been an absolute blast. It's been an absolute blast. My mind never even goes anywhere else. There's never a thought like, if it ever happened that they came to me and said, hey, look you're 93 now. You sort of became redundant 15 years ago. We're not bringing you back. I don't think it'll ever happen. But it's just what would change? Nothing would change.
I was just going to say that, Jim. You made a mention of it. I think it was last year to me where you said, you know, even if I don't get re-signed to Shimano, I will be Shimano till I die?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's one of those things I could not imagine me tooting another rod and reel company after your whole life. Because I know I could never honestly stand there and say, wow, this is the best reel that I've ever had in my hand. And it's, you know, it's true. Shimano doesn't get the accolades for their products from their peers in the industry. It's no mistake. Like, they make the best reels. It's all there is.
And listen, Jim, you've set the bar very high when it comes to product loyalty and loyalty to a company. 37 years, dude, with the same company. You don't hear of that very often.
Yeah, I got a lot of notes from people, young guys that fish today, and they said to me, wow, that's kind of cool. Like, you know, I wasn't born and you were winning tournaments. I just, you know, and I got several notes from guys, and like, they didn't want to try to sound like they were trying to say you're old or you're over the hill or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? They just like, they're sitting there and they thought about it. Wow, I'm 32. Okay. You know, like,
yeah,
it's been a long ride, and I'm just, I'm super lucky, and I appreciate every second, every bit of time I have with them and from them and whatever. It's just, it doesn't get any better. Like,
in 37 years, is there one product, Christina's asking, is there one product that is your most favorite?
That's a really good question.
She usually has good questions.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Probably the Stratic spinning reels. Day in, day out. Although I was more of a bait cast guy because all the largemouth fishing with the heavier line. I mean, Stratic has. It's just, you know, it's one of those things, and, you know, Curados, the two benchmark products that they have. And, you know, they're not their highest product, like they're not the highest up the chain, but they're just things that you get to use. I have a reel here. I think it was a CH100. It was a Chronarch, and in my glory days in tournaments, it was the only bait casting reel that I had for tournament fishing. I probably had about 30 of them,
right?
And every rod had the same reel on it. It was the same with the spinning outfits. Every rod had a Stratic on it, but they all had a CH100 on it, which to this day I still think is one of the best. I think it's a CH100. I'm not sure. It's a long time ago. It's like, you know, 30 years ago. It was the perfect reel at the time. It was the best at the time, and it just seems that every year, whatever they come up with is better, and I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, just better and better.
Yeah, well, it allows you to fish better. It allows you to do things like when I had my first DC many years ago. I was trying to learn how to skip with a bait caster. Not the easiest thing to do, and I was pretty good at it. But when I hit the DC reel, I went to a different level. So here's a product now allowing you to be better. And for the average guy to run out and buy a DC reel to be able to skip underneath trees 15, 18, 20 feet, that's not going to happen. Like, you're not going to do it that quick. The DC for most people, the average person is the cut down on the overruns and the backlashes, because everybody wants to try to kill it. And you'll never see a guy out there making a nice gentle cast, getting the backlash. It's when the guy looks across the lake and says, oh, I see a stump. It's 200 feet away. I can get there. I know it. You know, it's just, it's like guys that think they can cast 300 feet. And I tell them, you think so, eh? And they go, yeah. I said, you realize that's the length of a football field?
Yeah.
And they go, oh. And it dawns on them, you know.
Speaking of your tournament trails and your history when it comes to tournament angling, Mark Bennett wants you to tell one Rocky Crawford story.
Oh, I'll tell a great one. I hope he isn't listening. So Rocky and I had this day. We left the tournament. It was JM Pro Bass, and we left out of Belleville, and we're flitting all over the place. We were down to Kingston. We were halfway to Watertown. Like, I mean, we're talking like 60, 70 miles. And it's like 1 o'clock and we got no fish. We got nothing. So I suggested going for pizza instead. Just leave and go for pizza. Wasn't going to happen. But the problem was Rocky was really, really close to making it to the Classic. And he was right on the borderline because we'd had a couple of bad tournaments. I had already qualified another way, so I knew I was going back. So anyways, we go to this spot in Lake Ontario on the way back, and I said, look, let's get the spinning rods out, try and catch some smallmouth. You got to remember, back then, if you're catching smallmouth, the 3-pounder was a good one. And, you know, pound and a half, 2 pounds, you could get a lot of them, you know. And anyway, we pull up on this little spot that we caught 2-pound smallmouth off 1,000,000 times. 20 minutes later, nothing. All of a sudden, I hear the drag slip. He sets the hook. He reels in a smallmouth that's like this long. And when he's swinging it in the boat, it comes off the hook, shaking in the air, and it goes down by the electric motor. And he's trying to flick it out with the side of his foot, you know, just shoo it out of the boat. And I'm down between his legs from the back trying to grab this fish because I want to measure it. And I'm down there trying to grab it. And he's laughing. He's kicking at me, giving me elbows in the back of the head, you know. So I get the fish and I go measure it. And it's like 12 1/16 of an inch. So I put it in the live well. So we take it to the weigh-in.
Okay.
He's looking at me. I'm looking at him. I said, who's taking it up? Okay. So we get the fish. I, you know, to tell you the truth, I don't even remember who took it up. I think it was him, actually. And he takes the fish up, they weigh it, and they're looking, you know, they're figuring that I'm standing with a bag with 4 or 5 other whoppers in it or something. You know, we just couldn't get all, you know, whatever it was. That's it. The fish weighs 0.95 of a pound. So not quite 1 pound. So at the end of the tournament that night, they do the tallying of all the figures. Well, guess who qualifies 40th by 0.45 of a pound?
Come on.
So if we don't weigh that fish, he don't go to the Classic.
Wow.
And then Rocky is like a beyond stupid good fisherman.
Yeah.
He goes up the middle and wins the Classic and, you know, $60,000.
No way.
So imagine if he wouldn't have won.
Oh.
Or I mean, if he wouldn't have caught that fish and
measured it,
brought it to
yeah.
weight. Yeah.
Oh.
That's why you never ever stop. Like I've told you stories about last cast, the big giant fish I caught. It was in Midland too, right off a piece of wood, you know, stuff like that. You go right to the very end. You take the last cast. You see these guys, they're coming in an hour early, leaning on the console, and the heat tournament fish, you know. You just, it's up here, right? It's up here.
Wow. Well, that is a classic. You're right, Curtis. That is a classic story. And usually they're all classics when it comes.
And Rocky won, he won another one. He won 2 more after that.
Wow.
So it's, you know, he's just an amazing angler, just absolutely amazing. But it's like everything else, you know, we get away from it and it gets away from you. If you don't stay right on top of it. That's why people, you know, people think, I tell them I go out now, I said, I'm not always so confident I'm going to catch some fish. I know I'm going to catch some, but it isn't like the old days when I was as sharp as a, you know, knife, like just it was there. Yeah. And it's not like that now. And people say, well, you should go back and fish tournaments. I said, well, I probably need 2 or 3 years. So by that time, I'm going to be in my 70s. Yeah, it's not that it can't happen.
Yeah.
But is it worth the sacrifice? You know,
and it is.
I couldn't go now. If I wasn't able to dominate, it would be a real mental struggle. Like, you know, I used to come home and we'd finish 10th and I'd be, you know, where most guys, they'd be ecstatic. And, you know, it's not that it wasn't a big deal. When you're used to being up there a lot, when you're down, like we had one year there, well, the year we had where he caught that fish at the end, I think we finished like 53rd. And like we were ready to sign the suicide note and jump. you know, it's one of those things, but it happens. So it's all part of it.
It is, and it's best left to those who can handle it, because as I said, it is not for the faint of heart. That's for sure. Tournament anglers are a different breed. Corey has asked a couple times here, so I'll make sure I get to his question. Hey, Jim, what year did you get to work with Shimano? And what year did you start getting to be sponsored by Shimano?
I can't remember the year. I can remember the instance. I was at, oh my God, well, it's 37 years ago. I know I was at the Ottawa Boat Show, or it was the Ottawa Sportsman Show at the time at the Civic Center in Ottawa. And I went over to, Tom Brook was there and they were setting up the Shimano booth. And I had won a couple of local tournaments, was doing really well. And I went and I said to Tom, I said, you know, you had said I might be able to be on the pro staff, Tom. And he went, yeah, like that. And I said, well, I got to ask you, is it yes or no? Because I have another offer. And I want to do something. I've got someone, you know, that's willing to work with me. And he looked at me and he said to me, done, we'll talk after. Don't you go anywhere else.
Nice.
You know, and him and I have talked a couple of times. We remember that plain as day, like it happened yesterday. You know, so, and he's always been, Tom Brook is an incredible person. He wasn't a vice president of Shimano for nothing. Had a heart of gold, but God, if you got on the wrong side of him, it feared you. A couple of times he had to scold me for things when we were younger.
Can't imagine. I really can't imagine that, Jim.
I took the scolding good too.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir, and no, sir.
That's awesome.
No, incredible person. But you know what? It's something that I learned from Tom too. 10 seconds after that was over, he looked at me and said, well, let's go for lunch.
Let's go for a beer. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it was too. It was a Friday afternoon. It was about 2:30, I guess. And we had a chat there for about 15 minutes. And it was somebody else said something that they shouldn't have said. And he came to me and said, is this true? And I said, no, it's not true. That person is not telling the truth. That was, you know, he said, I'm really disappointed that you would consider what I've been told. If it is true, I need to know. And that's not really being scolded.
Yeah.
You know, that's just somebody asking you, hey, you know, what's going on here? I heard a legitimate rumor from somebody, and it was just a troublemaker. Just a troublemaker. Somebody who's still part of the fishing industry, but they're not really.
Yeah, I can imagine. And names are not something that you're accustomed to disclosing, so I know you won't.
No,
that's part and parcel of why you are who you are and respected the way you are.
Water
now,
under the bridge. Hey, I got to tell you something really cool.
Okay.
I've been talking to a couple of guys this week that have been absolutely just laying a beating on walleyes. Like, I mean, it's stupid. And earlier this year, remember I told you about those hooks from VMC with the little bladed hooks, okay? So what they've been doing is they've got a Freedom Minnow, good old Canadian company, and like I say, I'm not part of them. I don't have a contract with them or anything. And Freedom Minnow comes with those little balls that go on the end that look like an egg, and they've got they've got 3 different colors that come with it. So these guys snap the hook off. It has a little snap, and they put the little spinner on the tail. Now this thing, when it sinks in the water, it sinks like this. When you let it, you have to let it fall slack. Okay, the famous walleye lure. You see guys just slugging them. They were catching some with this, some, and they were adding, instead of the bead, they took the bead off. They were just adding some kind of a little bluegill type plastic, like, you know, a little tidbit like this.
Yeah.
Things like, no, I don't even think it's an inch long, but like they would add something like that on the back of this. And one of them was sitting there, grabbed this, put it on the tail. They started catching fish, and he said, I've never seen anything like it in my life. He said, it makes the lure, it looks like the lure isn't even working right, but there's something about that little thing there flickering at the back. And plus, a treble hook's always a good deal when it comes to fish shooting in. But they've caught, they've fished in 2 places. They fished in a lake that's off of Highway 7 here, and it's about halfway to Peterborough. It's about a half hour above Highway 7. But it's a deeper, clearer rock type lake with crystal clear water, like got lake trout in it, but it's got some really good walleyes. And they've caught, like, every time they go, they're catching, you know, like 15 to 20, 30 fish.
Wow.
Yeah, now they're spending whole days. but they're catching a whack of fish between them. So they went down to Quinte on the weekend and caught 40 in one day. And a lot of people tell me they catch 40 fish, but people don't realize how many 40 is. We didn't see.
That's a lot.
They put 40 fish on the ice, and he said they didn't lose. He said, I don't think we lost a couple out of them all. Yeah, they're fishing with, catch this, 17-pound test fluorocarbon. So a really heavy line.
Wow.
Now, mind you, fluorocarbon's not the easiest thing to see, but Quinte's pretty clear right now. And they said to me, like we needed it. Like they caught all kinds of double number fish, like fish that are not 10 something, fish that are 12 and 13. And they said that they had one at the hole that they tried to grab 2 or 3 times, and it came off. And he said, "To heck with it," and they just pushed it back down the hole. Like that's how many they had caught. They weren't worried about pulling another one out. They just pushed it back down the hole so he wouldn't get hurt. And he said, I think that might have been the biggest one. He showed me a little piece of film of it, and it was a big fish.
Wow.
You can see the mouth like that. Like that looked like a little jig, stuck in a 10-pound largemouth mouth. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
But so something that, if you're out there fishing, that you might want to look at, because I think that these little bladed jig things are going to become absolutely huge. They're going to be on everything, because that's a number 6, but they've got bigger sizes. I know guys already that are salmon and lake trout trollers. They've already changed hooks on a lot of their spoons to try it next year, just out of curiosity if it makes a difference, because it's so small it doesn't really affect anything.
Right.
Not that you've got some big clunky blade at the back.
Right.
A little weedy thing, and it makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Well, Jim, we've got past our half hour. Mark Bennett is asking for a story about Buck Tyler, so we will wait till next week to find out. Yes. So we'll wait till next week. Stay tuned to that. Jim, thanks so much for joining us as you do each and every week. Buddy, we'll see you on Thursday for the pre-party to the big party when it comes to the Spring Fishing and Boat Show. And yet again, it can't be said enough, congratulations on signing with Shimano for the 37th year.
Yep. Yeah, I figured it out. Hey, it's 3.6 billion miles I've been traveling on the Earth. 37 trips around the sun. Unbelievable.
Fantastic, buddy. You take care of yourself.
Guys, you have a great night and be safe out there. If we get a little bit of freedom coming here, be smart about it all.
Right on.
Okay.
Now it's time to get hungry from a word from our sponsor.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
Lawrence Gunther's in the house. How you doing, Lawrence?
Man, I'm hungry now.
See, I tell you, and it does it to me every single time. Can't get enough of those outdoor flavors from Bait to Go.
Oh, and, man.
One announcement that I did not pass on. If you guys are listening, next Thursday, Cooking with CFN and Cameron Tate will be airing again next Thursday, I believe at 8 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock his time. So stay tuned to that. And one of the reasons I'm telling you about it is because it is a new recipe that Cameron has come up with for outdoor flavors. So I'm looking forward to that. And I invite everybody to tune in. Now, Lawrence, we've got a lot to talk about.
We do.
One of which I want you to, because I tell you, there are a lot of, I would say, West Coast anglers, especially in the Alberta area. Tasha Eaglesham is one of our legacy members and was so excited to post this on our personal page. But I want you to tell everybody what came down the chain of command when it comes to the Alberta government and some of the requisitions when it came to land issues that have recently occurred.
A big mea culpa from the Alberta government. And you know, good for them. The Minister of Energy, she took it. She accepted the blame. She said, you know what, we should have consulted with the people. And, you know, they said they're going to put things on pause. But then they realized, you know, people just wanted to put those protections back. They've been there since 1979. The land has been considered sort of protected, not to be messed with, too important for the fisheries, too important for everything that depends on that watershed, those pristine watersheds. And they put that back, in 1979 policy. They reinstated it and said, if we will talk to the people about this and we will consult with the stakeholders before we try this again. So good for them. It's not a law, it's a policy, which means you don't have to have a debate in the Legislative Assembly there to change it. You can, the government can change a policy. They have that authority to do so, and they exercised that authority last year, and now they exercise it again and put the policy back. So it's a good day for democracy. People have spoken. People have let their elected officials know what they thought about what was done, and the government responded. And that's the way democracies work, right?
And that's exactly, Lawrence. And you know what? Power to the people. Yeah. The people got it right. Obviously, the masses spoke, and it was loud enough that the government realized their faux pas and backtracked. And I'll tell you, if we do it in a responsible way that puts, professional pressure, and we don't start, ripping buildings apart and setting things on fire and whatever, but you get the right kind of people, the scientists that know, a thing or two. You get folks like yourself doing podcasts to enlighten the people and make sure that we're educated and informed. And if people don't know what we're talking about, of course, it is coal mining. Oh. And it's something that, obviously isn't going to go away. We're going to have to mine natural resources out of the grounds of Canada for some time. And we will do so hopefully responsibly. But in this case, it looked as if there was a little bit of irresponsibility going on. And the government got called on it. And it's a win for the average Joe.
Well put, man. And you know what? Let's face it, that same sort of coal mining practice is taking place right across the Alberta-BC border. There's 5 of these open pit coal mines taking place in the Rocky Mountains there. So, and you go to West Virginia, same thing there. So, it's not like they just came up with the idea on their own. But and they're desperate for jobs and, stimulate the economy. So there's a million things going on. But it's I think what it says is there's economic pressures, there's the need to create jobs, but then there's giving in to temptation to sell the environment down the drain to create some short-term jobs, because these coal mines, they only last 15, 20 years, but the damage is pretty much permanent.
Right. Absolutely. And, as I said, when it comes to how fragile, the trout fishery is out in Alberta, and, it's always been a well-renowned fishery. And, fisheries are so fragile, especially when it comes to trout.
Native species, my friend, like West Coast cutthroat, West Coast cutthroat, and bull trout, there's these species that you don't find anywhere else in the world. They're like, there's these unique strains of these fish, and they live there. So yeah, if people come from around the world to catch one and put it back, just to say they've done it, it's on people's bucket list, and that's pure economic, generation for a lot of jobs. Plus, there was a lot of other aspects. I mean, things trickle downstream, and when you deal with the headwaters of a bunch of main rivers like that, a lot of trickling down was going to impact a lot of people. And they shared that knowledge. They spoke about their shared concerns, and people listened, because it really was going to impact a lot of people.
And really, when it comes to trout fishing and the trout fishery in Alberta, it has been unfortunately exposed to so many drastic weather events and fires and the aftermath of all that. So it really doesn't need any more shots to the arm. No. It's had enough, and we have to do everything in our power, as Bill's saying. No environmental damage is worth losing a species, or at least putting a threat on a species. That is it's a great win, a great story, and again, power to the people, and thanks so much for getting the message across to your elected officials, because it obviously swayed their decision, and they have backed off a bit, and hopefully they back off a little bit more, and we can ensure the future fisheries when it comes to Alberta and their trout species for years to come. Now,
hey, before you go, I think
sorry.
we all got to take a little bow here, because I think CFN had maybe a little hand in this too, right? You know, we're a group of people, we're a democracy, we're concerned anglers, and we people on this in the network, man, they made their views heard too. So good for everybody. I'm proud.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Speaking of which, yet another, I would say, cause effect relationship that's going on our East Coast when it comes to global warming, and you know, our Atlantic Ocean and the fishery that you know, abide in that fishery and that waterway. Some of the anomalies that have been happening, like great white sharks showing up in, I would say, I don't want to say large numbers, but certainly a lot more frequency to them, because one of which we're able to track them a lot better and more often than we've ever been able to. But anglers themselves, the commercial anglers that are out there, they're seeing them show up a little bit more often. Speak to how our East Coast fishery is managing and faring with global warming.
So in the news, we just released the Bluefish news today, and it's on bluefishcanada.ca. You can sign up for there. Just go read it there on the website, bluefishcanada.ca, and you'll find a link there to my interview with the scientist from Dalhousie University, and he's also the executive director of the Ocean Tracking Network. So it's a network of all the organizations that track fish on the east coast of North America, all the way from Florida, all the way up to, you know, Greenland and Baffin Island, the whole coast, right? So this is a network of trackers, and they share the data in real time, all these satellite tags and radio tags, and they're tagging everything. Arctic char, where are they going to? And how are they doing? And what are they eating? And Atlantic salmon, you know, are they coming back? Where did they go? And where are they coming back and doing well? Well, in the far north, we know they're doing well up there, the Atlantic salmon, not so much in the south, New Brunswick on south. Arctic char, they're moving further north and starting to compete for territory with the Atlantic salmon. Striped bass, it's the big, you know, shining star out of all the fish species on the East Coast. The striped bass are back, baby. You know, you look at the Striper Cup and what's going on there in Miramichi, and yeah, doing well. The striped bass are doing well, and thanks to the anglers for putting the big push on that to get that turned around. It's you know, we do see some striped bass populations coming north from South Carolina and North Carolina in the summer, but we also have, you know, local striped bass populations that have been reinstated in the Gulf of Mexico, on the Quebec shore, and New Brunswick. So good on us. Good on us. We talked a bit about smallmouth bass, and they're sort of spread throughout Eastern Canada. The scientist says it's the bucket brigade. You know, it's the bucket brigade. You spend a lot of money to get them out of a lake, a pristine trout lake, and it just takes one bucket of young, you know, one white bucket of young baby smallmouth bass brought in by an angler who thinks, you know, I like smallmouth better than trout, and they put them back in, and then it starts all over again. And it's just been every lake on the East Coast, man, has just been, you know, smallmouth bass. And
well, it is becoming a struggle amongst anglers and enthusiasts, whether they be salmon, striped bass, muskie, or smallmouth. Everybody has their opinion. Everybody has their favorite fish, and it is definitely, you know, an issue going forward. When, you know, how do all these species sort of fit into a river system like, say, St. John's or the Miramichi or any other river system that they have out there? There's only a large enough food web to feed a certain number of species. They're going to find a balance, but do we add to that balance any more than we already are? I don't know. What would you say, Lawrence?
Well, you're right. Like, there's biomass, right? And there's fish need to eat other things like other fish to survive. The apex predators eat the prey fish. And, you know, there's only so much to go around. And the faster, the more ferocious ones win those battles. Like smallmouth bass are pretty ferocious feeders. It's like muskie, though. You know, some people say the muskie have been in the St. John River now, and we put out a call to action. So check out the news. There's a link there, and you guys need to check this out and do that little 5-minute exercise to save the muskie. Because here's one, you know, they're not native species in the St. John River, but they've been there now 70 years. They're doing well, very well. It's a very popular fishery. People come from all across Canada, the United States now to fish for them. It's a trophy fishery. They've got a Muskie Canada chapter there now. And yet the Department of Natural Resources refuses to put in place a season so you can fish for muskie all year round, and you're allowed to keep 5 a day of any size. And then they're also
keep 5 a day?
Keep 5 a day of any size all year round. Now that doesn't sound like managing a resource. That sounds like targeting a resource, right? It's a big difference.
Wow. Yeah, I would say, and you know what, from these waters over here in Ontario, Quebec and even Manitoba, hearing, you know, the keeping of a muskie is something that's hard for us to swallow, because it's just not something we normally do. The catch and release of those fish is always of utmost paramount. And of course, people get ridiculed on social media if they're not holding it properly, if there's not proper fish handling skills, performed. So interesting how it's different that far away.
It really is. And, you know, look, it wasn't, you know, was 70 years ago, they had a commercial muskie fishery on the Ottawa River.
Yeah.
And one of a popular food in the pubs along the river was pickled muskie. You know, you had pickled eggs in the pub, you had pickled muskie chunks in a jar, and you snack on those while you're drinking your beer. So, but these are days many, many years ago. We know now that you can't just eat apex predators like that. First of all, they biomass a lot of toxins because they live around, they eat a lot of other things, and they live a long time. So they're probably really not healthy to eat at all. And second, they take forever to regrow back. You know, they're not that prolific. But it's just, you know, to target a species, and they say that the muskie are eating the Atlantic salmon, and that they're gathering at the fish ladder and intercepting the Atlantic salmon when they're coming back down the river to go back into the ocean. Nice, 6-inch, 8-inch Atlantic salmon, perfect snack size for young muskie coming through the fish ladder. Yum, 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 right? So they're actually, the department actually takes 60 to 70 muskie below that dam out every year and calls them there. And then the same individual I was telling them, Dr. Horace from Dalhousie University, he also is part of the Canadian River Institute. And they were called in. So they took some of these muskie that were called below the dam, and they examined their stomachs, what's in the stomachs. And you can, even if you don't find a fish head, or some, an actual fish, you just need to take the DNA of what they're eating out of their stomach, some samples of what's in their stomach. You check the DNA and you go, is it salmon or not? And it turns out, no, they're not eating the salmon. They're not just predating on the salmon. So they got it wrong. Everyone just assumes, everyone's pointing fingers, species hate, whatever you want to call it, fish racism, whatever you want to call it. But that's not the muskie. The muskie are not the fault here for the Atlantic salmon problems. I mean, Atlantic salmon's got a lot of problems, and maybe muskie are it's going to give them a little bit of a rough time there, but they're not the cause of the problem. They're not even a major source of the problem. So leave the muskie alone. Go to that news, the Bluefish News, go to the end there and click on the link. Take 2 minutes to fill out that survey and let the people know what you think. It's a survey meant to, how important are muskie to you? And if you're ever thinking about taking a trip out there, or you it's on your bucket list, speak up now.
Amen. Very good point. And now feel the bite segment. You feel the bite segment, and I think it's really interesting that you're going to talk to something that is going to change this year for carp enthusiasts when it comes to the number of rods they're going to be able to use to target their favorite species.
Not only the carp enthusiasts, but the tackle manufacturers, right? Because now
exactly, yes.
Everyone's going to be in the market for like 2 more musky, carp rods, and this is. I've got a few. We all got a few. We were all hoping and anticipating that this would happen someday, but around the world, carp anglers fish with 2 rods, or 3 or 5. You just go to the other side of the St. Lawrence River on the American side, and they fish 2 rods over there. So what happens? The Brits come over to North America to fish the St. Lawrence River to access this fabled carp fishery, one of the best carp fisheries in the world on the St. Lawrence River. And then they decide, well, do I want to fish 1 rod or do I want to fish 2 rods? So where do they go, right? They all end up on the American side. And then the motels on the Canadian side are empty. And that's a shame. What a tremendous economic loss. And then all the time MNRF is saying, well, if we allow that to happen, they're going to be 2 guys with 2 fishing rods. One's going to have a Senko and the other one's going to have a jitterbug. And they're going to say, oh, we're fishing for carp. Well, you can't mistake a 6 or 7 foot bait caster with a 10 or 12 foot, spinning rod with a size 12,000 spinning reel on it that you need for fishing carp in the St. Lawrence River. Right. There's no mistaking the equipment. So the rule is basically you can have up to 3 rods. If you're fishing from a boat, you got to have all 3 rods on that boat, and a person who's fishing for the carp on the boat has to be in charge of those 3 rods. If you're fishing from shore, you've got to have your baits within 2 meters of each other. So you can't take your 3 rods, cast one way out to the left, one way out to the right, one straight out, and take, 300 yards of shoreline as your own fishing spot and piss the rest of the people off because they don't want to start fights. So they said, look, you want to try different baits, you want to try different, hook sizes and things like that, and you want to experiment a bit to see which is going to take. You can put your baits out there, but you got to keep them together a little bit so you're not hogging the whole shoreline. That seems reasonable. Just make sure you practice your casting a little bit first because, if you cast it out 100 feet, 125 feet, getting within 6 feet of each other, it's going to be and then you got to get the lines out of there if one goes off and it's heading for the other lines. You don't want to get that big tangle going.
And this was exactly what my concern. Hey, listen, if it helps carp anglers, I'm all for it, especially when it comes to pursuing their passion. But to me, just as you just mentioned, the more lines you have, the more you're responsible for. And when you hook one of these trucks and try and reel them in, and you've got multiple lines out, well, God help you if you're there all by yourself, because that's a heck of a lot of reeling before you can get to the main one that the fish actually has on it.
With a 12-foot rod, you can keep your rod tip up pretty high. So controlling the fish is doable. Watching your line. Is he going over my other line? Okay, you can keep your rod tip high. Oh, he's going under. You can just say to basically squat down and climb under your fishing rod and get to the other side of those lines. So it's doable. Most people fish together, but the thing is, you would fish with 3 lines until you figure out what works. And then once you figure out what works, you're probably going to fish with, 2 or 1, because I've been on the American side, and when it's working, I could not keep 2 lines in the water. Like I'd be fiddling with one and the other one would be going off, and I could just barely keep 1 line in the water and the other one half rigged by the time I had to play a fish again. I mean, yeah, life's hard, right? On the fishing carp, but it's an amazing sport. I love it. It's a great social sport, and I think, having the 3 rod thing is going to be a little bit of a deterrent in terms of the socializing, because you could put 2 people or 3 people on one spot and fish together. And now you're going to have 2 or 3 people with, 6 or 9 rods. So you're going to have to spread out a little bit. But you can still put your setup and you have your bite alarms, and then you just bring a good pair of running shoes, because if your rod goes off, you're going to run. You're going to be visiting a friend, and then you're going to run to your spot.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was going to just talk about that with your disability. This kind of fishing is really geared towards someone that does have a vision disability because of the alarms that they have. The gear that is associated with carp angling basically allows anyone with a sight disability or even a hearing disability to know that they have a strike.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, this is really social fishing. You bring a comfortable chair, you bring a rod rest, you got a beeper, a sensor, so that if the line starts pulling out, you have these reels that have double drag mechanisms. They're called bait runners. So you have your main drag, which is your fighting drag. That's just set, you set that pretty heavy, 15, 18 pounds pressure, pretty high, because you're using 65 to 80 pound test Power Pro. You really want to have some tough line on there. And then you have your bait runner drag, and that's the second drag, and it flips on with a lever, and that just gives enough tension. You can set that, and just enough tension that your line isn't going to get pulled out from the waves or the wind or the seaweed floating by, but enough too that if the fish picks up your rig and hooks itself by the sinker, because the sinker sets the hook. You don't even set the hook, your weight does, and then starts running. That bait runner drag allows the line to peel off your reel really quickly and easily without pulling your rod off the rod holder, because nothing holds your rod on that roll holder. It's just sitting on the rod holder. So you want to have that line set nice and the drag set nice and light, and then you go over, you pick up the rod, you take off that sort of bait runner drag, you flip the lever, and it goes to fighting drag, and you make that transition as smooth as you can, and fights on. So I hope I did a good job explaining that, but you can do it just by backing off the drag, or you can do it just by hanging on and having the line on cast and just paying attention. You could do it, but if you can get yourself a bait runner, and Shimano has been making them forever. Shimano makes a whole bunch of beautiful bait runners over in Europe. If you want to get something really nice, go online and have something shipped over from the EU. If you want to get something, just solid and dependable, you get a Bait Runner D, and they're not that expensive, and they'll do the job just fine.
There you go. Perfect. Now on that point about multiple lines, Richard Dunlop asked an interesting question. Should we be able to fish and target all species with more than one rod?
You see these guys that troll for crappie, and they use these spider rigs, right, with 5 rods. You go to the piers in North Carolina, on those fishing piers, and you can bring as many rods as you want. And it's not unusual for someone to stand there and have 5 rods leaning against the rail, and they all have line out. Like I said, it's one thing to get a bite. If it's a slow bite, 5 rods, you can do it. But if it's a fast bite, you're going to just get back to 1 rod anyways. It's not like you're going to manage 5 rods on a fast bite. It's not going to happen. So if you're harvesting and you're trying to get a limit, it doesn't matter if you can catch your 5 fish in 10 minutes or 2 hours. If you can only catch 5 fish, you got to stop then anyways. So I don't know. I think though, the fact is, if you look at the data, we return at least 2/3 of the fish we catch. So is it really necessary to be able to be so efficient that you need to be catching fish all the time with multiple rods and go through all that headache, if you're just letting them go anyways?
Yeah, I guess my concern is it more, if you're using 2 rods, is it more about harvest than it is about recreational fishing? Mm-hmm. When it comes to hardwater angling, the fact that you're able to use 2 rods, I don't know about in all places, but you're certainly allowed to use it in most places. I think it's a great idea because you're right there. You're focused on 2 rods. You might be working one, and the other might be a dead stick, which is a great presentation if you are using 2 rods. Yeah. But when it comes to the soft water season, I don't know. When it comes to trolling, it has its advantages. But if you're casting or jigging, I don't know.
Scotty, I think in the end, really, this is an economic argument, right? Like, you have tourists going to the States to fish the American side of the St. Lawrence River, and we're missing out on a lot of business, a lot of good money, right? It's not, and people say, well, I can also figure out how they're biting, and it'll take me half the amount of time to figure out how they're biting, because carp anglers get really finicky about their rigs, and should I use a pink with bubblegum scent or a yellow with maple syrup scent, and it's things like that. There are a million variations on bait and hook size and how high should the hook be off the bottom, and on and on and on. But once you dial it in, and really it's you get fishing. I tell you, to me, fishing on the St. Lawrence, if you're not getting a fish every 15-20 minutes, your hook's probably fouled.
Yes.
It's because it's either going like crazy or something's wrong with your hook. When you've got the bait out there, because these schools come in the thousands. So I think this is mainly, this nod to carp for the extra rods is just to get that business back from the Americans. That's it. That's the long and short of it. Get the guides some jobs, get the motels and the hotels and the restaurants some paying customers, get the tourism operations, all of that.
Going back to your carp segment, Sean Fortier is asking, are buffalo part of the carp family?
Buffalo carp. I'm not that familiar with them. I think it might just be another name for common carp, but I'm not sure.
I know a guy that'll know. He'll be
Good.
coming on right after you. So hang on to that, Sean. I'm sure our good buddy Jason will be able to answer that. Now, when it comes to carp fishing, the selection of hook, are they circle hooks that you use?
No, they're a J hook, and anything from a number 8, 6, 4, 2, sometimes long shank, sometimes short shank, sometimes barbless, and so they're always just a straight on hook, because these are razor sharp hooks. It's called a hair rig. You don't put any bait on the hook. What a carp does, they have very sensitive mouths. They smell something, they suck it in their mouth, and then they feel it's got some weeds on it or some sticks or some mud. So they blow it back out and they suck it in again. And by blowing it out and sucking it in, blowing it out and sucking it in, they sort of wash their food and then they swallow it. But the idea is that they blow it out and they're trying to shake off the fishing line or the metal hook, because to them, it's debris. It's just debris they're trying to separate from the bait, which is just attached to just below the hook with a bit of fishing line. The bait has no hook on it at all. And at some point they blow it out and the little hook point sticks in their lip. And then they jump a little bit because they get pricked. And then that hook, that sinker, which could be up to like 3 to 5 ounces of weight, holds that line solid. So when that carp jumps back, that hook gets planted, always in the lip, always in the lip. I've caught hundreds and hundreds of carps, and it's always in the lip.
Never foul hook. No, I'd have to agree with you, especially with that kind of presentation.
Yeah.
You're bound to only get it in the mouth and in the lip.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Going forward, Lawrence, what have you got upcoming?
Oh my goodness, we just did an interview, and it'll be out in a little bit on Lake Superior, my friend. And you were talking about, Scotty, you're talking about climate change. I didn't know this. I read about this in a scientific report. I tracked down the scientist who's doing all this research from Duluth, Minnesota, and Lake Superior is the lake that's fastest changing in the entire world. Like, out of all the lakes in the world, Lake Superior is changing the fastest.
Really? In what way?
Warming, temperature change, ice pack. Yeah. There's things are changing on Lake Superior, and I don't want to get too much into it. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but it's if you want to do some homework on that, I mean, you would think. The other thing about Lake Superior I'll mention is, out of all the Great Lakes, it's the one that stayed the same the longest. Like, it hasn't really changed that much, right? Like, you still got the iconic fish that have been there for 10,000 years. Yeah. They're still there. And so if you want to measure, is this climate change, or is this just life, the cycle of nature? Or is this pollution, or is this man-made change? Is this a result of algae or chemicals or whatever? This lake is pristine. It's a relatively pristine, unchanged, unaltered, undamaged lake. So whatever's changing it, they think it's pretty much, it's climate change.
And here's the thing. I think, and this is just my opinion, everybody is in a hurry to label something. Oh, this is because of this, global warming, whatever. I mean, there's a whole bunch of theories out there in regards to what's going on with our environment. I think the most important thing is that we continue to do the science, because at the end of the day, we can call it whatever we want, but we don't truly know. The most important thing is to make sure that we have an idea of what is happening and what could potentially happen in the future. I think that's far more important than trying to label it, it's this or that.
They've got 40 years of temperature data. They're down low, up high, surface. Yeah, they've got 40 years that they're still collecting it. So yeah, there's like that anomaly we had in 2014, right? With that deep polar vortex freeze that froze all the Great Lakes solid. Yeah. You could walk across Lake Ontario, I think, that year, right? Yeah. And that was an anomaly. That was an anomaly when that jet stream just sagged down over Ontario and just stayed down for pretty much the whole winter, and the Arctic air just sat on top of southern and central Ontario for the whole winter.
1995, I think it was, and if for folks who were around that can remember that, In the month of January, I don't believe we got higher than minus 19.
Oh, I remember that.
You remember that? It was a
my God. I just moved to Ottawa.
Now I say minus 20, and our good folks, like our buddy Walter out in Saskatchewan, is a reminder that minus 20. Yeah, you know what? You can have your minus 20. We've got our minus 34s and 35s out this way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Picnic weather. That's picnic weather for them.
Exactly. They know cold better than we do sometimes.
Yeah.
Right on. As always, buddy, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for all of your information and, of course, the updates when it came to the cold mining and what's going on for our Alberta anglers. And keep up the great work, dude.
Thanks, Scotty. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Right on, bud. Well, guys, as I said, share 120, win 120. Let me explain that before we bring on our next guest, which is, of course, our good friend Jason Barnucz. If we get 120 shares to your personal page, so 100 individual shares to personal pages. So Sean Forche, if you share it to your personal page, Bill Mafrick, you share it to your personal page. If we get 120 of those, we will put 120 names in a hat. We'll pick a name, and you will be $120 richer in a gas card. So stay tuned to that. As I said, share away, as Bill has reminded us. And here is a word from Jay's sponsor.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural, man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
Jay Barnucz.
What's happening, man?
Not much. Well, lots, I should say. Not much. I shouldn't say.
There's a lot going on. Okay, first things first. A buffalo is a sucker.
There you go.
A carp, common carp, is a minnow. So I threw a link to a Twitter post from a while ago that I did on Valentine's Day, where I am actually kissing a buffalo that I caught in an electrofishing boat on the St. Clair River. And it was in the winter. It was like late. I think it was late November when I was out there. But anyways, I smooching a buffalo. Anyways, so the preview doesn't show up, but dude, I love buffalo. They're actually one of my favorite fish. They got these big Jersey cow eyes. Yeah. They're real pretty fish, and they don't have spines like a carp. That's the big thing. Fundamentally, they look the same as a common carp, but they have spines. Sorry, common carp have a spine on the dorsal fin and on their anal fin, which are very sharp. And I've actually had some serious injuries over the years. You know, Scotty, when you're pulling in a big trap net or gill net, a big carp, and they got those spines flopping around, you get stabbed sometimes. And I've had them go through boots. I've had those spines go through. So you don't mistake carp. But buffalo, they have no spines. They're all soft and lovely. That's why you got to love the buffalo. Don't love the carp.
Have you ever had an infection from getting stabbed? And that doesn't matter.
Yeah. You know, during field season when I'm traveling, like I actually have a little orange Pelican case. And I carry my wallet and my keys and my cell phone in. It's waterproof. Like I always laugh that if something ever happened to me, my case would survive, but I'd be gone. But in the case, I always bring what's that? Polysporin. You know that stuff, polysporin?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because I can't put Band-Aids. I get spines all the time in my hands. And so I can't put Band-Aids on them because I'm always getting wet. So I use polysporin all the time. I constantly have a tube of polysporin on the go, and I'll literally like dab the sore spots in the morning when I leave the motel.
Listen, it's a good tip, and I was going to ask the question because, as I said, some people react differently, and of course, depending on the water, there's a lot more, say, bacteria or contaminants in certain bodies than others. And in the heyday of summer, when there's bacteria is at its highest, sometimes we have to be. I think we're going to have to be going forward a little more conscious on making sure that we aren't getting, what they call the fish flu from getting pricked.
You know, I have some friends, a couple of very good friends of mine, avid anglers. They actually have a fish allergy, if they get fish slime on their fingers, they actually get like around their cuticles and that they get like it disintegrates, like it just dissolves, it gets cracked and gross. And so those people I know in certain jobs, and these are fisheries guys that work with fish, so they're wearing as they get old, like when they were younger, they just tough it out. Now they wear like they're not vinyl gloves, but like the sterile gloves, like they'll wear those all day long because you got to reduce the amount of fish slime you're getting on your skin, because it's pretty nasty. I have some friends, it's pretty nasty. I'm glad I don't have that problem.
And likewise, and some people have some afflictions to shellfish and the allergies, and oh my Lord, what transpires after they've eaten it. It's horrifying. It's it could be their death. So absolutely, you don't want to find out the hard way.
No.
If in fact you are allergic or you have a reaction to a quill prick. So make sure, as you said, Jay, bring some polysporin or any kind of antibacteria lotion that you can be proactive with, and make sure that we don't lose fingers and limbs and all kinds of stuff. Listen, this Thursday, I'm excited about. Listen, everybody loves a party, but the pre-party before the party is like the red carpet. We're going to be running the red carpet of the Spring Fishing and Boat Show, and we're going to have you there. Jim's going to be joining us, Lawrence, and of course, hopefully our good buddy Moose, to discuss some of the goings on. It is a different year, and I know you and I talked about it before we came on air, that it is kind of last minute, and I can imagine just because of how the logistics work or how to try and get the logistics to work, it is kind of last minute. But what excites you about something like this?
Well, Scotty, we've talked about this before. Like, trade shows for me, they used to be a lot about seeing all the new stuff, and I'm lucky enough I get to see a lot of the new stuff all the time. What they are for me is a chance to network with my peers, my fishing peers. Some of them are my bestest friends. Some of them are just acquaintances, but we all have that common passion. And it's funny. I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like when you're at these shows, sometimes you're so busy running around, you don't take time to talk to everyone. I think next time I feel like I've taken that for granted. I think I need to go to the shows next time and walk around and talk to more people. And I think being in a public place with people is something we took for granted, and being able to see your friends and share their stories. And, at least with the show online this year, we can do that. I've been very fortunate. Andy reached out to me and asked me to participate in the show this year. So I'm going to give 2 seminars, one Friday night at 5:00, I think. I'm going to post some times, and I'm going to do another one on Monday afternoon. The Friday show is going to be about Friday seminar is going to be about, honestly, it sounds kind of funny, but shore fishing, shore angling. I talked to Andy at length about a topic, and with what's gone on in 2020, and a lot of people just want to go fishing, and they don't know where to find opportunities to go fishing, or where to, what can they do? And there's even people who want to buy a boat but can't because there's not a supply of boats. All this is happening so quickly. So Andy and I had a good conversation on the weekend about doing a seminar about just getting out fishing, some basic tackle, basic stuff. This is nothing new to CFN folks because of the fish off and other contests that are happening all the time with the CFN guys and girls. But I think that this is a niche that is going to need to be, we should discuss it going into 2021, because the pandemic is going to keep on rolling this year, right? So
absolutely. Yeah. And as accessible angling is huge, and it's hugely on the minds of all of us, because as I said, the future is kind of uncertain. Like, let's be honest, we don't know what the softwater season is going to look like. We certainly don't know what COVID is going to look like with everything that's going on and all the changes and the variants and all this nonsense. I'm glad to hear that our numbers are down, which is good. We're somewhat getting it under control, and we're giving our frontline health services a break. My Lord, that hospital, not to get off topic, but that hospital opened up in Vaughan.
Yep.
And all of the ICU cases and people that were being treated for COVID got sent to that hospital because they dedicated all of their beds and all of their units to COVID. Could you not feel it, Jay? The sigh of relief from all the nurses and doctors, frontline workers that have been dealing with this.
It's, and that's the thing. Like, we're happy the cases are going down. I was talking online. He runs a little, and him and I were chatting about how a local person inquired about why are we even allowing ice fishing to happen, and because Long Point Bay right now has ice fishing, which is that's like a 1 in every 4 year anomaly, right, for Long Point, and so, but they're concerned, and I said, look, you think ice fishing is bad? Like last summer, the boat ramps were packed with people, and the cases were lower. Fishing is not the problem. Boating is not the problem. Like if you're going to go out and try and find a source or an issue to address, leave the outdoors people alone. That's my message. And I don't usually take strong points, but we have enough timeline now to look at how things have. We still guess at how things are spreading, but in the end, it's not through outdoor activities. I think it's important not to gather in large numbers, but go fishing, go boating, and right now, if you're going to tell me that ice fishing is more dangerous than a bunch of people gathered at a summertime boat ramp, no way. There's no way. We don't gather when we ice fish. We gather, but in small groups because it's cold. Like you and I have joked, it's social, it's also like right now, dude, it's minus. Even this morning, I drove the kids to school this morning. Thank God. And it was minus 15, dude, in the van, and I'm like, yes, minus 15. Like I haven't seen minus 15 in Delhi. I don't think this year yet, and it was even colder last night. And I know for some of those listening, it's way colder, but it's the beauty of Canada, man. We're so big and broad and diverse, and one of those is our climate. So I'm down here in literally the warmest part of Canada, and it was minus 15 this morning. So I'm so happy, and not for me, Scotty. I'm happy for all those people that are going out ice fishing right now. And the ice fishing spots locally, I don't have to be all sneaky now. I felt bad going around, sneaking around to places to, there's Brad. Brad's a good buddy of mine from Turkey Point. I'm so glad Brad's listening. And, now it's nice we can all just go ice fishing. Long Point, Turkey Point, St. Williams, the local conservation areas. Let's go. Let's enjoy it. And the long range forecast looks like even around here, 2 more weeks of cold weather. It's great. It's great, Scotty. It
might even be longer because Lloyd's out in Saskatchewan and it's minus 37 there right now.
Oh, see, and you know what's funny is that, okay, so when it was minus 15 Saskatchewan, it was like plus 5 here, right? So I'm doing all the whining. They're doing all the ice fishing. I'm looking at Lloyd putting pictures. I'm looking all my buddies in the prairies putting pictures up. And now it's so cold out there. They're talking about extensions on augers. And we're like, we have 7 inches of ice. I don't always have to use my spud now. I might actually walk
so
out and just nice. Like, it's honestly, it's just nice to enjoy. So I'm sorry to our friends out west who are literally in a, what is it, the polar vortex? But I'm happy that we all pretty much most of Canada can go ice fishing now. Doesn't get any better than that.
It's true, and on a light, not on a lighter note, I would say on a more sobering note, is let's not rush out there. How many vehicles did we see go through the ice this past weekend? How many people did we see go through the ice? There was an overhead shot of Lake Simcoe showing an enormous crack.
Ice I have to tell you a story. This is gonna hit home. I'm not naming names. But I was forwarded pictures from Lake Simcoe a couple weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, people park on the ice, dumbasses, pardon my French, parking on the ice again. And then a buddy texts me and he goes, did you look at those pictures? I'm like, well, yeah. Recognize anybody in those pictures? And 2 of the trucks belong to friends of mine. I'm like, what were you guys thinking? And it's just, and these guys are good guys, and you're just like, oh, come on, why would you park on the ice? Like, I don't park on the ice. I know people do. And you know what? I'm not judging. it's a personal choice. I just don't park on the ice, and there's so many reasons why. It makes it hard to fish some lakes in Southern Ontario if you don't park on the ice. I understand, and if you go further north, they have ice roads, which is great. But it makes tough fishing on Lake Simcoe because parking is at a premium, and if you don't park on the ice, it's hard to go fishing in some spots. But anyways, let's just all be careful, be mindful of that. I was chatting today with I seen the SUV on Bay Quinte on social media as well. I was talking to Big Jim today a little bit and just sharing some of those stories. How much snow insulates ice, and it creates it's not even going through now, right? It's snow insulates to create slush, and you better have a really, really good vehicle to get yourself out of a sticky situation if you're going to drive on the ice. There could be 12 inches of ice. There also could be 12 inches of slush on top of that ice. And I've seen some sticky situations. I've been in them myself, trying to drag a snowmobile out of a foot of slush. Been there. Yeah. Not pleasant. So just be careful out there, everybody.
There's some ponds that I was up looking at this weekend, and we've had minus double-digit temperatures. And just as you said, there's enough snowpack there that's insulated, and the shorelines are anything but safe. Surprisingly, as I said, as cold as it's been, that snow is a great insulator. So, great advice that I hope everybody heeds.
So I got to mention this weekend, it's still on. It is Ontario Family Fishing Free Weekend this weekend. They have not canceled it. It's still happening. They're encouraging people to go out. I'm going to post a link here in the chat.
Okay.
People need to go fishing. And let's get it done. Okay. So basically it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, which includes Family Day. And there are some virtual things going on. You can actually write into Tackle Share and OFH to get some prizes. But you know what? In the end, let's go ice fishing this weekend, okay? Let's get people out ice fishing this weekend. It's going to be cold. Even down here, daytime highs are forecasted for -10. So the wind chill is going to be probably in the minus teens. But hey, that's why we buy propane, right, Scotty?
Absolutely, dude. And make sure we're all stocked up, because I don't know if anybody's noticed, but fuel prices are going up. So I don't know what's going to happen with propane. So you might want to stock up now.
Well, with the cold weather and the amount of ice fishing, I have a 5-pound tank I get a lot of use out of, and I'm probably going to upgrade to a 10-pound tank this week. A buddy's got one for sale locally, and I'm just going to get it. Even though around here, I'm typically on foot. A lot of our ice doesn't get real thick around here, and a lot of the small ponds I fish, getting a machine out there's actually a little bit of a pain. But even with my Smitty sled, I think a 10-pound tank is going to be just fine for some applications. I don't have to worry about propane supply, because with this cold weather, I'm going to be going through a lot of propane. And the 5-pound tank is great. And I hate those 1-pound tanks, but man, everyone's got to stay stocked up on your propane just to keep yourself. One thing we know about ice fishing, Scotty, is be comfortable, enjoy it. When I was in my 20s, I probably didn't like ice fishing as much because I didn't have all this gear, and I would just go sit on a bucket and freeze myself to death. Yeah. But now we can go enjoy ice fishing, right? So everyone should get out, do some ice fishing, enjoy your time enjoy your time out there for sure.
I totally agree. And as Jeanette has just said, I will commit to taking out my grandson for some fun on the ice. And really, at the end of the day, that's truly who we should be taking with our family members. And it is Family Day weekend, so I can't think of a better time to devote whatever available time you have to angling with your family members than this weekend that is coming.
One thing that's really hard this winter is, and Trevor and I were talking about this at dinner tonight, is he's got a few buddies that we like to join with us to go fishing, right? And, if we go to a local pond or a local lake and we're on the shore, we can spread out. But with COVID, you got to pretty much be in an ice hut. And as much as I could easily take Trevor and 2 of his buddies ice fishing in our big hub, I'm not going to. And that's the only part that really hurts me, man. It hurts me that I'm not taking out some of these. And some of these kids aren't fishing all winter because their parents don't ice fish. I get it. It's totally fine. But I just want to get them out ice fishing. And there is an investment to get out into start ice fishing, but let's just hope next year we don't have to do that. But I really want to see as many people ice fishing this weekend as we can. But let's all be responsible out there, and let's not ruin it for other people. Do the right thing, please, please, please.
And speaking of the right thing, Bill, great heads up. Make sure that we are bringing some form of carbon monoxide detectors with us.
Yes.
We have those sealed tents and huts. If we're not getting an influx of oxygen and we're sealed in there for hours on end, make sure we have some form of a device to measure carbon monoxide, because we want to make sure you guys keep coming here each and every Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Facts
for me, I don't worry about it too much when I'm during the day. I'm in and out of the hut quite a bit. I like to hole hop and run around, and sometimes my hub is more my warming shack than my fishing shack. But if you're gonna hunker down in a shack for a period of time, I know that the buddy heaters that I use, they have an oxygen shut off that if it gets low oxygen and this and that. But I still think if you're going to be in there for any period of time, I think it's a good investment to have that carbon monoxide detector with you, especially if you're really bunkered down and you're going to stay overnight. Really, really, please do that. Some of these tragedies we've read about could just totally be avoided, Scotty. So,
amen, brother.
Yeah,
absolutely, amen to that. So speaking of which, where do you think you are headed out? Obviously, you're not going to give out lakes or areas or whatever, but some kind of generalization.
I got to do one thing first. Okay. So from the good folks at Berkeley, I got 2 of these bags. Okay. In the bags, I think there's 3 tackle boxes in here. These are worth about $40. Okay. And there we go this way. There we go. So I'm going to. I just put a link in the chat room. I need CFNers to send me some questions to ask during my virtual seminar, because I have to send some questions to Victoria that she's going to make sure I get asked. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to type this out. I'm going to let my fat fingers do the work here. Okay. So on my follow page, you can check out you can send me a message via Facebook, via Twitter, via Instagram, or via YouTube, okay? And I'm going to raffle off. So for each seminar, okay, so the first seminar number 1, everyone's listening, seminar number 1 is shore fishing techniques and tips, okay? So any questions you have about shore fishing techniques and tips, ask me a question, all right? And I'll check all my media this week. Seminar number 2 on Monday is caring for your catch, fish care. We're going to talk about how to handle fish properly with nets, with gloves. We're going to talk about barrel trauma. We're going to talk about fizzing, okay? So there's shore fishing techniques, and then we have care for your catch, 2 different seminars. Send me your questions. Everybody who sends me a question, we're going to put their name in a raffle. Scotty, I'm going to track it all. And you're going to help me raffle off. I'm going to have 2 of these, one per seminar, okay? And I'm going to throw in a bunch of Berkeley plastics to help fill these containers to get a head start on, okay? So they're worth there'll be about $75 or $80 worth of stuff in each of those bags when we're said and done, between the bag and the content. So, okay.
That's up to you, Jay. That's awesome. Yeah, Alicia, I agree. We will be listening in, and hopefully you do, because as I said, there are some great people doing some great seminars, including the very own Jason Barnucz. Now, Jason, when it comes to the questions, will they do it during the presentation? Will they do it prior to? Can they send it to?
What they've asked me to do, because we're navigating this best we can. Victoria's asked me to send in questions to her. So whoever's interviewing me, whoever's the MC, could be her, could be Andy, could be Moose, who knows? I know Moose is always involved in this show somehow. And those questions will come through, and they'll pick the questions to ask. So all the questions may not be asked, but if you take the time to send me a question, I will answer your question, and your name will go into the draw, and we're going to draw 2 of these Berkeley tackle packs. So I need your guys' help, because I need questions. Otherwise, it'll just be a bunch of, I don't think I would sit for dead air time, because you and I have a good time talking, and I usually
Absolutely.
make it up as I go anyway, Scotty. But
Where would you like to see the questions then, Jay? Would you like to see them sent to Messenger, like your Messenger, or where would you like to see them?
you know what? So I put a post in the chat room. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. I'll check them all. I don't care. Whatever platform you want to send me one question. Don't send me 20. One question you want to ask, and I will send the questions into the Spring Fishing Show. They may not pick your question to be asked because maybe time will be a problem. But if you took the time to ask me a question, I will still answer it, and you put your name in a raffle.
Bingo bango, dude. That's awesome. That's really awesome. And as Alicia says, those tackle bags are like gold. So
no one's got them, man.
I was just going to say, yeah, you better have them under lock. Sounds like Alicia might be knocking on your door very soon.
You know what? And to throw it in there, I'll throw a pack of Berkeley flatworms in each bag because I know no one can get those. So I'll throw those are 10. That's a $10 pack of flatworms. I'll throw one in for each of those bags.
And yes, to answer your question, I will answer it for you, Jay. One for each topic.
Absolutely. You can do one for each topic because we're going to do 2 separate draws. Absolutely. Yep.
Right on, Jay. Well, listen, we will stay in touch. Obviously, come Thursday, we will be doing the pre-party before the party. We will have the aforementioned Moose as well as Jim and Lawrence and as well as yourself. And we will be discussing not only your seminar, but everybody else's as well, and some of the things that we can look forward to. Because as we draw closer to the event, I would imagine more will be unveiled.
Yep. Looking forward to it. Awesome.
Right on, buddy. You take care and have yourself a great couple of nights until we meet again.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one. Talk to you Thursday.
And here's another message from our sponsor. Good evening, Mike. Can't say enough good things about our wonderful sponsors, and Y'all I Bait to Go Outdoor Flavors, and of course Shimano have been they've stepped to the plate quite nicely. And with our CFN jersey, just to give out a bit of a hint, we will be giving you the necessary props that you deserve. So I look forward to seeing the mock-up. I do hear that it is done. So I'll be having a look at that tonight. But the reason you're here, Mike, and good evening, by the way.
Thank you. I'm excited to see the new jersey design.
I am too. They've spent, from what I understand, they've spent an awful lot of time on it, and it looks like it's going to be pretty cool. And of course, big shout out to Adele if she's still watching. I hope she is. This did come in the mail. Thanks so much for sending it. The great little card that was associated with it. And of course, there's a beautiful walleye on the back. And for the first time, well, you know what? I shouldn't say that because the name on the front of the jersey is more important than one on the back. But I will say the walleye at the back is near and dear to my heart. Mike, as you heard, we were talking with Jay about COVID, how fishing is going to look in the coming weeks. I know you and I have not made an official decision as of yet. But what are some of the ideas? Because I think it would be really cool if we were to sort of present what we're thinking going forward as how the Winter Fish Fest is going to look.
Yep. Before I do that, I just want to say hi to some people saying hi. Curtis, Mike Howard, Lloyd, Christina, Bill, Dave, Alicia. Thanks for tuning in and saying hi and sticking around. So we postponed the Winter Fish Fest from February 1st, and we said we're going to give it a couple weeks because, you know, the 14-day mark is a huge time span in terms of COVID and stuff. So we said come February 15th, we'll make a decision. and we'll have something. We don't know what that something is, but we'll have something. And the reason why we said we'll postpone and have something versus not have anything at all, or versus going full blown on February 1st, is because we wanted to honor all the people that chimed in to the poll, whether it's their vote or their comments, because it was like 50-50. You know, half of the country is saying, do it right now, February 1st, and the other half is saying, don't do it at all. So we wanted to pick a stance somewhere in the middle. And part of that stance was not having it on February 1st, but postponing it to the 15th so that we could be somewhere in the middle. And some ideas we have to address some of the concerns that people have was, instead of maybe having 5 categories, because we don't want people to be traveling too far or doing extensive travel or unnecessary travel, maybe we just have one fish, one species, any species you want, size doesn't matter, and enter it. And then we have one or more draws with that one entry. That way, you're not traveling, you could fish local, but you still have the opportunity to win prizes and get out with your family and get as many ballots as you can between you and your family. So I think it was a good, happy medium. So that was the one idea. The other idea is maybe we can get more prizes. Maybe we could do a biggest fish prize or a smallest fish prize. So these are some ideas that we've been bouncing around. Nothing has been finalized because we do want to see what happens come 14 days, like come February 15th, because the COVID situation is changing so rapidly. But come the 15th, we'll make sure to make an announcement, and something that builds community, something that allows you to enter a fish, something that allows you to win a prize, just because so many people are itching to do it. And I think come the 15th, it'll be a better time than the 1st.
And really, this whole virtual community, which we have established through the years, and with the tireless work of a lot of our legacy members, as well as our members at large, it has what has allowed us to stay together. And I'll tell you, we are all chomping at the bit. We talk about the CFN retreat that's coming up in August. People cannot wait for that event, and I'm hoping COVID is out of here by then, so that we can have these gatherings, because as I said, when it comes to CFN, that is what we are. We're a social group, and we love spending time with one another, and it's been tough this hard water season because we want to do it so badly, but we can't. So one of the things, as Mike and I have tried to stay on course with, is not eliminating something that people are looking forward to. And we have our virtual community anyway, so even if we're able to see each other's catch, and that may only be one large fish and one small fish, it gives you a reason to be socially distant, respect the rules and protocols, but still be a part of the community and get your kids out fishing, which is first and foremost.
Yeah, so we're excited. We don't know exactly what we're going to decide yet, but we'll have something, because the community, all the community is itching for something, and half of the community wants it now. So we'll have something that is COVID friendly, physically distance friendly, but at the same time fun, gives you an opportunity to win prizes and get you out fishing with you and your family.
Speaking of fishing, Mike, have you yourself been out on the hard water yet?
I don't think I've fished since the end of the CFN fish off. So that's not good. We might not want to mention that to some of our contestants upcoming. that's bad advertising. Yeah, it's just been crazy busy, and with school starting, and fishing is not my full-time gig, so there is other parts of Michael Console that I have to take care of and be responsible for.
So Alicia's asking, are you broken, Michael? No, not broken.
Yeah,
but what he's had to catch up with a lot of stuff. And as I said, Mike, on behalf of all of us, and including the participants, we can't thank you enough for all the efforts that you've put forth when it comes to putting the CFN Fish Off together. Season 2, the next season. And we are currently on episode 6, I believe now, Mike.
On the TV show, I'm not sure. I got to check. Yeah, I know that I've seen up to episode 9, but I'm not sure what's released on TV. But if you haven't seen it, oh my gosh, it is crazy. It is, 1, fast-paced, 2, extremely entertaining. 3, the number of species is incredible. 4, you're learning a lot. And you get, you know what I love about it? It's not just the defenders. It's not just the hookaholics. It's not just the drag pullers. It's not just the master casters. But there's people featured in every province who are part of the CFN community that are on the TV show, which is amazing.
Really, Mike, at the end of the day, that's what you and I had envisioned. Is it's, you know, and the one thing we'll say about CFN is it's never about one person. If I say it once, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. CFN is not the Scotty Martin show. It's not the Mike Consul show. It's the you guys show. And what is so cool about the CFN Fish Off is average anglers, average weekend warrior type anglers are the stars of the show. And the fact that we're able to include our community on top of that, out of the park, man.
Yeah. So there's people featured from Alberta. There's people featured from Saskatchewan. There's people featured from BC. And like different, and of course Ontario. So different teams that were part of the online preliminary CFN Spring Fish Off are also being featured on the TV show. So it is awesome. Speaking about the average angler, I heard my partner is not very average, so he might take offense.
So I don't mean to paint everybody with the same brush, but when you're catching over 900 species of fish, yeah, you're a little bit better than average. Yeah, you got me there, Mike. Absolutely.
And you know what's cool? Alexi from the Master Casters, he's from Quebec. Him and Tim Wisdom. Out of like Ken he's caught in like 900 species. He's approaching 1,000. But Alexi was the second highest number of species caught. More than me, more than Brandon, more than Mitch. And Alexi is approaching 200. And that's far from 900, but I'm nowhere close to. I'm maybe only at 100. Alexi is way up there, and he's only 16, which is amazing.
And what's really cool too is Matt Langye is making him a big part of our Quebec chapter, and most likely will be making him an ambassador for the province of Quebec. So the fact that we have a young angler who is maybe a little bit better than average, as you so eloquently put, Mike, a part of our Quebec chapter. I mean, that's awesome. Absolutely, absolutely awesome.
Yeah. All right. So we look forward to the 15th and look out for an announcement in terms of what the details are for the CFN Winter Fish Fest.
Right on. And if you joined a little bit late, let's go over a couple things. Share 120, win 120. If we get 120 personal shares to your personal page, we will put all your names in a hat. We'll draw a name for $120 worth of gas. And if you want to know how to get one of these, if you joined us a little bit late, Walter has come up with this wicked logo, and our good buddy Moose managed to put these stickers together. If you want to know how to get one of these, go back to the very beginning of the live broadcast, and I invite you to listen so that you can find out. And it's all about Haley Snyder and how our CFN community helps our CFN community. Mike, any parting notes?
Yeah, you know, I've been invited to a whole bunch of other groups, but the pride that people have for CFN and being part of the CFN community is second to none. Like, you'll see people across the country wearing the CFN logo or having a CFN hat or wearing the CFN shirt. I don't see that in any other group. And the groups might be bigger, but the pride that CFN community has, there's nothing bigger than that.
Well, and as I said, because we're coast to coast, like you see it, there's a strong contingent of OFC, community members that wear OFC proud, whether it be the nation or the OFC community itself. But yeah, no, coast to coast, I'd have to agree with you, Mike. I don't see as much of it as you do CFN, and it's a true testament to, again, all the efforts of all the people. And as I've always said, you bring good people together and good things will happen.
Yep. And Richard's saying that there's over 500 CFN jerseys across the nation. Wow. That is amazing.
That might help. That might help with it. And when we get the new one and we'll bring it to the masses, the mock-up, once we decide on it, as our legacy members are going to, in the coming days and possibly weeks, I can see a lot more of those jerseys purchased because I think they're going to be pretty kick-arse going forward.
Yep. And like what Mike Howard said, shout out to OFC and RCA
Amen.
and CFN, because it's not just about one group. It's about what we can do together.
Absolutely. As I said, bring good people together and great things happen. Mike,
yeah,
you are a true testament to that, my friend. You have yourself a great night. Thanks for everyone who joined us tonight, as you do each and every Monday. We look forward to it, and stay tuned to our coming events in the coming days. Thursday, not sure of the time yet, but it's the party before the party for the Spring Fishing and Boat Show. And of course, Cameron Tate is going to be joining us next Thursday for another Cooking with CFN segment. And he's got something new that involves our bait to go outdoor flavors. Mike, I bid you farewell. Godspeed.
Good night.
We'll talk to you in the coming days, my friend.
All right. Good night.
Peace.